Hi, Gaye DeRusso with the Majestic Rider. So today I'm going to talk about stifles and the gaited horse. So many of us have been riding horses or seen gaited horses being ridden, and in their back end all of a sudden they sit down. And some people don't know what that is, but what it is your horse's stifle. Their stifle is like our kneecap, our patella, and it helps to extend the leg but also to bend it. Their stifle's located back here. Now, why would gaited horses have more problems than other horses? Because of how they reach underneath themselves. They need to reach underneath themselves so far that their kneecaps, or their stifle, tend to be a little bit loose. And if they're not worked properly and engaging themselves and using the muscles around that stifle, it becomes looser and you have more problems with it giving out. Now, some of the lines of breeding tend to have looser stifles, so they might have more problems than other horses, and it's more likely to happen in the Tennessee walk-in horse that reaches way underneath themselves, although it can happen in any of the gaited breeds. So how do you know the horse's stifle is giving it an issue? So when you go to pick up its feet, it won't pick up its foot. So this horse tends to have looser stifles, and when he's worked every day, he does very well. So now he's had 3 days off, and when they are not worked, sometimes it'll lock more. So what will happen is I'll go to pick the foot up, the horse won't pick the foot up. If I rock the horse back and forth, either push him forward or backwards, they usually will know how to themselves, how to unlock it, and then you'll see that foot snap up when they go to pick it up, and that's when the stifle's moving back in place. So look, so we'll see he's moving himself already. If it locks, so watch right here and see what happens. So usually he picks his foot right up, except when it's locked. Oh. But he did okay that time. Let's pick his feet. So hopefully I can find video of one of the other ones with it locking. But if your horse won't back up or won't pick its feet up, usually that stifle is locked. But the horse will know how to unlock it if you give him time. Don't just beat him up. It can happen on hills. The horse is sitting down like that, or the horse doesn't want to go down hills because it's having major problems with that stifle and it feels insecure, or it's causing it pain. What I usually do for the stifles is a rehab program. I make sure I get that horse on hills at least once a week. In the arena, making them engage themselves. I make them back up, but again, not enough to cause pain. You have to have an idea of how much do I push this horse to help him and not make him worse. My own horse has a stifle that locks up, same side, the right side. And I know it's locked when he'll stand still when I go to pick his feet and he's not picking it up, and I just back him up, ask him to go forward a couple of times, and he'll actually unlock it himself. So I'll see if any of the other horses that I pull out have any issues with their stifle. But again, it's usually that sitting down that's a major problem. And then you can see them doing funny things with their legs when they're moving or when they're going downhill. The other thing the horses tend to do is drag their back toes a lot if they're having problems with their stifle. So if you see they're really wearing down that toe, it could be a suggestion that they are having some issues with their stifles, and you want to make sure you're doing exercises to help them.
still fine unless you're like, oh, I don't like that. But, oh, that's okay. That's just his stifles. Keep going. And then I'll explain that to you. But you see it takes a while for them to fire. 5, there is stifle just locked up. 6, so it locked up again. So there's an exercise you can do, which actually helps when your vet checks it too, because it's going to make your horse stronger, and that's to pull on the horse's tail. So you got to make sure you're good, sure your horse is okay with pulling on the tail first. They're not going to kick you or anything like that. And what you're going to do, if you're really big, don't pull too hard in the beginning. I'm going to pull until he actually pulls back. So he's a lazy horse. Now he's over there rubbing his head as he's pulling back a little bit because I just rode him. So I'm going to pull again and get him to engage those muscles and pull back towards me. And we're going to get him to stop goofing around. Okay, so I'm going to pull again. So can you see him pulling back now? So I usually do it like 10 times on each side, and I did it when we started out, so he might be a little bit tired. So then I go to the other side, you know, again, make sure they're not a kicker if you walk behind them, and stay close so they don't kick you in the head. And then I'm going to pull him over this direction. So I'm going to pull against him, and I'm kind of small, so I can use my weight against him. So depending on your size, small horse, big person, don't pull too hard. Big horse, small person, you can probably pull pretty hard. So this is much better than he did last week. Last week I kind of knocked him off his feet because he didn't want to know what was going on. So this will help him to engage his muscles in his hindquarters, use his muscles around his stifles, and then again, if your vet has to do a neurologic check on them, it helps so the horse knows that he's supposed to pull back against him. A lot of the gaited horses, especially the walk-in horses, when you palpate around their tail, sometimes they don't tuck their tail in like regular horses. And I see it with a lot of them, so it's probably, something more with their breeding. So some of them will pull in, but some of them really don't pull in that much, so it feels a little loose. So you can kind of play with their tail too, and see what they don't like to get them to pull in, because as the vets check them, they think they're weird and they think they're neurologic. So you want to make sure you do some stuff and get that horse to pull his tail in. So now he's pulling on me too. So he's using all those muscles back there. And I'm trying to get him to engage his back end. He was a little bit pacey and kind of threw his shoulders, so we're trying to make his hindquarters work. So again, this will help with the vet, and it'll help him get stronger. The other thing I do is when they're standing, a lot of times if they have a weaker side, they always kind of cock that one leg like that. And so what I'm trying to do is get them to stand up on both legs and use both those muscles. So if I happen to be grooming a horse and I know he always cocks his right leg or he always cocks his left leg, I will pull them up on their tail and get them to engage their muscles and use both sides. So it's kind of like you're right-handed or left-handed, and we're trying to get you to be ambidextrous by, anytime you won't use your left hand, I'm making you use it. So I'm trying to make him use both sides of his body to even out his muscles so he can carry us better. But see, right now he's got his weight on both legs and he's good. He's standing nice and calm, but he's using his muscles instead of being lazy.